Kia ora, Geminis. How are you? This is your reading for this full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus that's coming up on the 8th, if you weren't aware of that. And thanks so much for liking and sharing, subscribing and commenting. It's really good. Like, I'd be interested to hear how you all are finding this eclipse season, which or eclipse flavor with this Taurus Scorpio axis, because it's been going on for quite a long time. So anyway, let's get the cards out for you. Remember, these are very general readings. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and do check out your ascendant moon, Venus and Jupiter, if you know what they're in. And also the collective reading is up there at the moment, which might be of interest as well. So let's just go through and see what is going on, Gemini, here. We've got the 8 of discs coming out, a card of hard work, but I'll talk about this once we get a few more. Cards. We just need one more for Geminis. For the Geminis out there. And if you do look at the readings, all of them should be up while I'm doing these videos. All of them should be up there. If a title springs out to you, or you're kind of drawn to look at something that's not technically Gemini, just do. It can be quite, informative. So let's see, Gemini, we're coming out with you with a lot of air and fire, and it seems to be working quite well. Let's just see. It's actually really interesting. The 8 of discs is a card of perfecting something, working hard. It might be working hard. You forget about what's going on around you. It might be a good way to avoid being aware of what's going on around you. But it's also a card really of, as I said, perfecting something. You're working away at something. You're pretty focused, actually, on where you're going at the moment. The collective reading, worth having a look at that. It's about what has been, a lot of very dispersive energy flying around recently. And, so it's good to see this for you, Gemini. Quite a solid storyline here. We then have you, the Queen of Swords. Straightforward, clear, you know what you want to do, what you're doing, and where you're going to take it. So it's pretty good. We always go through and clarify and pull some more cards at the end, Gemini. We then have this beautiful gift of the Ace of Wands. This is fire. It's vital. It's the very essence that drives us all. And so this is basically a gift that we give form. And I do think that you're really in this mindset of being driven at the moment. So let's have a look and peel back the layer a wee bit more. We've also got one last card here, the 10 of discs. Yes, it's called Wealth in the Thoth deck. And it is about that. It's about having all the resources that you need. It's about where you come from as well, your values, what you've been brought up with, the sort of ideals and values and belief systems that you've been brought up with. And then on the other level, it shows us, we are surrounded by our resources, that being coin, people, family, friends, all of that kind of thing. And it does speak of a place of belonging, a place where we feel that we belong. Okay, Okay, so let's clarify here for all the Geminis out. We're looking at the Eight of Discs. There's a protective quality as well to this Eight. Because when we work away, or we're working quite hard at something, we don't necessarily want to, how would you say, prematurely introduce it to the world. You know what I mean? Prematurely is the word that I get. But anyway, to clarify this Eight of Discs, we've got actually 3 cards coming out, one of which is the Ace of Wands again. So we've got the 6 of Cups. This is about having a very open heart. It's a very balanced card. The 6 of Cups, central point on the tree of life. We see children offering gifts, offering flowers to each other. We're talking about offering emotional gifts here without condition, without expectation of anything coming back. We're just giving for the sheer love of giving. Now, for some Geminis, if we look at this position and as a not in relation to the other cards, which I'm not, because everything is in relation to the other cards, but it's interesting to note that there may have been in the past, there may have been or there may be at this current time actually questioning what you either have offered or do offer, what you see as how you offer what you do, and do you really, you're kind of analysing it, is what I'm trying to say. Analysing the way that you give, how you relate, relationships. We've got that Ace again, vital. It's life force. It's the thing that animates all of us. Everything here. So it's quite big. And then we've got the 10 of Wands, a burden that has to be laid down. A burden that has to be laid down. Are we trying to be too many things to too many people? Gemini is sort of, even though you've got the, you've got the drive to be, but is it just, there's obligation involved. There's a level, kind of a high level of obligatory sort of feelings here, which, is it an obligation to give with an open heart? Maybe you don't want to. I mean, I don't know. So let's just see. So we're spending far too long on that first card. But let's look at the Queen of Swords. Are we being a little bit more sort of a bit analytical about stuff? The Queen of Swords is pretty straight up and down. And that could simply be about, that first position, simply be about being too work focused, and it becomes sort of like it's a bit of a weight. It's a bit of a heavy weight at the moment. Far too many there. Just one card or two for Gemini, for the Queen of Swords. This is such a Gemini card. Well, we've got like a few too many here. I'm going to read them as they came out. Gemini. Just quickly, the Star, because this is the Queen of Swords. The Queen doesn't get to be the Queen unless she's fulfilled certain obligations, you know what I mean? We get the Star, a card primarily of healing. We get another Ace, but this time it's the Ace of Swords. We know what, we know what we need in order to let this sort of, because it is an alchemical process that's going on in the star. It's actually quite a complex card, the star. But primarily it is about healing. It's about a level of surrender. So we've got this Ace of Swords straight down the line, no mucking around. We've got the gift of mental acumen, Gemini, at the moment. We then have the card of victory, the Six of Wands. We are seen to be of service here. We are seen to be of service. Other people see that. There's a level of sorrow. I mean, there's far too many cards. Level of sorrow, Three of Swords. We understand what sorrow is. We all understand that, don't we? We all understand how we've been hurt. And then we've got the Four of Discs. The Four of Discs is a very strong card, very stable and solid, very stable. It does indicate, though, that something may well need to be given up or given over. All the vital organs here are covered. We're holding on to something here possibly that is becoming a little bit burdensome. Now that's way too many cards, but I wanted to read them as they are. It might resonate for someone out there, and remember, if it does, that's great. If it doesn't, just leave it. Okay. Still too many cards. We are now looking at this Ace of Wands. And I've put all those cards back in the deck. We're looking at the Ace of Wands. We know the Queen. You know, the Queen could be someone in your life or aspects of yourself. I would be inclined for a Gemini to say, well, it's aspects, definitely, of yourself. Though when I did say that it could be someone in your life, it might be. We got the Hermit flipping out at that point. The Hermit takes a journey, takes a hero's journey into the realms of the, or what have been the unconscious aspects of ourselves, or the dark corners that need to be shaken out and cleaned up a bit, understood, more to the point. The Hermit shines a light on a personal level, in a personal manner, but can also be a guide for others. There seem to be three, I mean, I think this is quite multi-layered, potentially, this reading, so I've got to just stick to one narrative here. But, yeah, there's, it's interesting. Always interesting. There is some need to, I think, withdraw, possibly for some Geminis out there, to withdraw. And I think work is a perfect foil in some ways. But when we're working, we're focused, you know, we're really focused. We're not sort of, we're distracted. There's a, you know, the thing with this Taurus-Scorpio axis on the astrological wheel, and that this whole theme or flavour of eclipses along that axis has been going on for quite a while. And so it's interesting because we know that the Taurian thing is about, you know, value and, you know, what we can kind of accumulate, what we find valuable, security, all of that sort of stuff. And then Scorpio side of things is the need to actually have like a real fearless face off in some ways with oneself in order to purge some things, in order to retain and remain vital, to transform by that and through others. I'm getting sidetracked here a little bit. So we'll just get back to clarifying. So we get the Hermit coming out. So we'll just pop the Hermit down there by the Queen. And now we shall, Gemini, we shall clarify the Ace of Wands. Look, there's a lot of fire. There's a lot of fire in here. The Ace of Wands. Yes, yeah, I mean, I do think, Gemini, you know, you're working away, you know, there's an obligation. If it's not to yourself, it might be to a whole bunch of other people, and it's just getting a little bit too heavy, a little bit too restrictive. It's quite confusing, Gemini. Anyway, so we're looking at this beautiful ace. It's vital, it's fiery, we give it form. But are we somehow wondering whether we can actually action in the world? We're questioning that. We know we can work hard, but that doesn't mean that we get things, that we're actually creating anything, does it? It doesn't necessarily. So Ace of Wands, Two of Discs, we're keeping a balance. There's a lot of movement going around. And if you do check out the collective reading, it is sort of interesting that there's been a lot of dispersive energy, which is very much an air sign thing. I mean, it's very air. It's dispersing stuff. Just sort of, there's a lack of focus in that reading. Collectively, that is. So we've got this balancing, keeping the balance. Yeah, we know it's a card of choice. It's a 2. But we're just keeping a balance for the time that we can. And at some point we'll make a decision here. There's a lot of movement in this card, but it is about that equilibrium, or, you know, oh God, what's the word? I'm a bit tongue-tied today. You know, the figure 8, the infinite nature of change, and that change is our only constant, you know. So we've got this gift of an Ace of Wands to create, to put that into some kind of form, to use that fire. A bit of delay happening, but for some reason, Gemini, we get this 5 of Discs. This could be an old habit, an old default mechanism, an old habit to choose lack over gain, to be fearful of making a definitive decision in case things don't work out. We can, you know, fixate on, if that's the right word, we can be sort of obsessive with work, with working away, whatever it is, working away on something. Sometimes, you know, change, yeah, it is the only constant in this life. Sometimes we just need to be more objective, step away, and instead of staying away and not being, you know, engaging with others, or I know this sounds odd for a Gemini, but a lot of Geminis aren't overly, you know, it depends on all sorts of other things, overly socially butterfly-like. I mean, it's all a bit women's magazine-y astrology, isn't it, to say that, I think. Didn't mean to offend women's magazines there, but so, yeah, 5 of discs, it's a hard card. I'm just going to get one more for that. It prevents us from, and then we think, oh God, I had these opportunities that I didn't take. But, you know, the Ace of Wands is really filling up your sails at the moment. It might not appear that way, Gemini. You might not feel that, but it really is. Yeah, another ace. Ace of Cups. Love. We give it form. We direct it. That's pretty amazing. Let's look at the 10 of discs. This card of our families, dynamics. It's our base chakra. It's where we, you know, our tribe, where we feel that we belong. Oh, it's really interesting. It's actually very confusing. I'll be honest, always honest. Okay, so we're looking at this 10 of discs. Look, there's lineage involved in that card. Inherited, you know, epigenetics. Epigenetics, which used to be laughed at, but is not any longer. You know, we inherit a lot of stuff through generational lineage. It doesn't have to be genetic. It is through, you know, passed along through the line, you know. Anyway, so we're looking at that 10 of discs. We've got the 7 of swords, a card of, deception. A card of deception. Now, we can be our own perfect self-saboteur. We all have that. And it does come out often. We all have that archetype, the self-saboteur. Tripping ourselves up, not taking advantage of opportunities that come our way. You know, we get lost in that distractive, dispersive stuff of things going on around us all the time. It's like, oh, how do I make a decision here? What direction do I go in? You know, this has been worked on, Gemini. I do see for a lot of Geminis there, this whole thing has been worked on for quite a long time. And I do think, because we've got 2 more cards that came out at the end, I'm spending far too long sort of on this, but you know, in some ways in this card there's also an indecision. He takes 5 of those swords and leaves 2, just in case, you know. Just in case I want to come back and get those last 2 swords. Who knows? It's very self-sabotorial yet non-committal. So with the other 2 that we get the Hierophant. This is guidance, Gemini. It's for you and for you only. It's actually you alone. This guidance is from the Hierophant. And it does require internal investigation. It does require, I should say, a kind of forensic, scorpionic look into the deeper, darker aspects of, you know, ourselves. I mean, we all do that. We all need to sometimes. And we're all guided to at times, you know. And within that, we inspire others as well, Gemini, you know. The Hierophant, you know, yeah, it always was like the Pope because religion ruled the world kind of thing. But, I do see this as sort of spiritual guidance, really, whatever spiritual means to you. This is guidance that I think that it's good to open up the doorway to the Hierophant, because sometimes with all the mental clarity in the world, we're still operating from a kind of robotic default mechanism at times, just from, I don't mean to be rude, but default habits. And we wonder why we can't get over a particular hurdle or release a particular burden. I think the 5 of discs is often really difficult because it's something that we can go back to. It is sort of like a habit. It is about choosing lack. And we all suffer from that at times, and we all deal with it. How much more beautiful could it be than to get this glorious sun at the end of this reading? We enter this full moon that's like a lunar eclipse, so it's a full lunar eclipse. But then, at the end of it, we pass through it, or it passes through us, probably, more to the point, and we see it in its entirety. I think a lot of things are going to sort of be revealed to you, Gemini, at this time, if they haven't been already. And they are things of, potentially a spiritual nature, yes. Brian Froud, singer of intuition. It's one thing to always need tangible, physical, directions in your world, to always look at the facts and the figures and all the rest of it. Yeah, that has its place. We also need to follow intuitive guidance, and that is however you want to think of that, whether it's automatic. It's something we all have. It's like a muscle that gets stronger with exercise and all of that. It's a beautiful card, isn't it? It's gorgeous. Can we get one more Brian Froud card for Geminis at this time? Because it's a confusing reading, but it's as if you are working through, something, and you've been working through it for a long time, Gemini. And I think it's at this time that you'll succeed in releasing it, because in the past it's held you back. We have the Bright Mother, this beautiful, beautiful goddess creature here, who in fact holds that moon. She has the new moon, the full moon there, whatever way you want to look at it, but I see it like that. In between the eclipses, the new moon, the full moon. Master of ceremony. Knows when to cut back. Knows when to plant. There's no indecision in this card. There's a great faith in the intuitive faculties within the Bright Mother. And she provides a lot of mothering to others as well. It's really lovely. Let's get a Gemini, let's get a rock mineral crystal card. The lights starting to go down a wee bit. Get a rock mineral crystal, and thank you for your comments, likes, shares, all of that. I really, really appreciate it. It helps get these videos to be seen by more people. But I just really like, let me know how you're finding this whole eclipse business, or how it's been for you, whatever. It's like, I really love, engagement from others. So we've got for you today, and we all know engagement comes in many forms, but share some of your own insights. I appreciate it. We've got fluorite, which looks like it is an amazing sort of crystal. Personal protection, Gemini. If you've felt unsafe lately, getting organized, yep. Aura cloak, yep, sounds good. And cooperation. It's beautiful purple and green colours. On that note, Gemini, thanks so much for joining me. Take good care. Do check out, I think I'm repeating myself here, but I do forget what I've said. Do check out the collective reading, because it was really a Prince of Swords kind of reading, and with a lot of love in there, actually. And take good care over this time, and check out your other signs and all of that. Okay, ka kite. See you next time, Gemini. Bye.